Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for joining us. I'd like to extend a very warm Databricks welcome to everyone here today. Would you believe today is our first ever Telecom Forum at the Databricks Data and AI Summit. So you are very, very special to experience this with us today. So I'm Nabash. I lead our telecom industry globally, and it's my privilege to host you for the next hour, together with some of our leaders. So we have Tony Gilbert. Tony, do you want to give us a bit of a wave?
Yes.
Awesome. Tony's always not a shy. We have Andy Flint. Andy leads all of our business in America. We have Paul Davidian. Hey, Paul. We have Jonathan Sundberg. Not sure if Adam Beavis is here. He could be somewhere in the room, but we extend a very warm Databricks welcome to you. Now, I have spent more than 20 years in telecom, and it's an industry I grew up in and I love very much because telecom always do the right thing. You know, not only do they enable families to be connected, communities to be connected, but they also enable businesses to thrive. And when there is a crisis anywhere in the world, the telco is always there volunteering and helping out. And that's one of the reasons I am so proud to not only have worked in telco, but to be supporting all of our telecom customers at Databricks. But at the same time, I think it's fair to say that this industry is at a pivotal point. You know, we have traditional revenue models that are under pressure. We have customer expectations that are rising and often unmet. And we have networks that are costing more to maintain, more to deliver every day. So it is a tricky situation right now. And yet at the same time, we are operating in an era where we have the opportunity to reimagine telecom and to reimagine telecom in an AI native world. And this is the reason we arranged this forum. We arranged it to give you the opportunity to connect, to learn from each other, and to reimagine your telecom with our customers and with us together. Now, the one thing that we do learn from many of our customers is that what matters right now is driving outcomes. Gone are the days where you could try things and continue to try them for 2 to 3 years. The outcome matters right now, and it's so important for telco because when you look at the fact that most of the customers in this room have 100 million subscribers, how do you serve each one effectively and make every customer feel heard, make them feel seen? But with AI, we have seen some models that are enabling telecoms to deliver this. You know, when it comes to fraud, the bad actors are acting in more aggressive and creative ways. And it's normal to have 20,000 or 30,000 cyber attacks every single day. How do you control this and get ahead of the game before it actually impacts your customer? And again, we've seen some amazing models with AT&T, where they've addressed fraud before the customer is impacted and reduced fraud by 80%. And how do you actually monitor the anomalies in your network when the network is so vast, it's so complex, there are so many different networks? How do you do that at scale so you track the anomalies and you address those issues before you have an outage? Well, we have customers who are doing that also. And we have learned from all of our customers, and we have built a customer outcomes map. As you can see, I'm not totally on track with my slides. I'll come back to this one in a moment, but we've built a customer outcomes map specifically for telecom. So we can help you in these areas that you have told us is critical for your success. And we double click on this, and what we've developed and curated with most of our customers is a set of use cases. So it doesn't actually matter which part of the telecom you're in, whether you're in the consumer business or the enterprise business or the networks business. We've got use cases Most of them, the majority of them, have been delivered by us or our partners. And this is no longer hope or hype. We welcome you not only to learn from today's session, but we welcome you to visit us in the Industry Lounge, where we would like to take you not through the what, but how this comes together in your business. Before I share a little bit about our speakers today, I must say thank you to our sponsors. Tredence and AWS, thank you so much for being our sponsors for this event and for a few others that we have in the telco industry. But team, as I said, today is about learning, it's about connecting, and it's about reimagining your telecom. And we have more than just a great lineup of speakers today. We actually have some of the boldest, most exceptional leaders who have agreed to share very authentically how they are applying data and AI with Databricks in their businesses today, and some who are forming new industry standards and how they are operating, who are going to share what they are thinking behind the strategies that they are driving. So today, first we'll hear from Matt Dugan, VP of Data Platforms at AT&T, and Matt's going to share how one of the largest telecoms in the world is not just reducing some of its costs, but boosting productivity, reducing fraud, and really adopting an AI-first strategy. Thereafter, we are going to hear from Jesse Ross from Frontier Communications and Srini, and they will share how Frontier is modernizing its infrastructure to really grow and transform not just revenue, but customer experience. We will then switch gears a little bit, and I'll be joined on stage for a fireside chat with Dayle Stevens, Executive of Data and AI at Telstra, and Arnab Chakraborty, Chief Responsible AI Officer, Accenture, and Co-CEO, Telstra Accenture Data and AI JV. And together, they are leading one of the boldest AI transformations in the industry. It's actually an industry first, and I know many customers here have asked a few questions to me about that. And we will close with Guy Lupo, who is the EVP of AI and Data at TM Forum. And I know all of our customers who are here today are members of TM Forum, and Guy's going to share a bit about the AI and data blueprint that TM Forum is putting together so we can all thrive together. So without further ado, please join me in welcoming our first speaker, Matt Dugan. Matt, over to you.
Thank you, Navas. Wow, big crowd and very bright lights. Um, so I thought, if I'm going to come up and represent, one of the older telecommunications companies, I mean, you think of any word when you think of telecom, a lot of times that word is older. And, believe it or not, I'm actually the youngest person there. No, I'm not. We actually do have some younger people. but I'm here, and so I thought, what? Why not take an opportunity, do a bit of a whimsical journey through some of the data transformation that we've held, as well as start to take a bit of a future look into what's next. So, engage. Hopefully, this is a bit humorous, a bit fun for everybody, and I'm sure we're amongst friends when we go through some of this stuff. So, when you're an old company like us, you think about, where did you start? Well, by this time next year, it'll have been 150 years since Alexander Graham Bell's patent on the telephone, since the first patent on the telephone. And we've been there. Like, we are about 150 years old ourselves. So it's been quite some time working, with this kind of equipment that looks like something out of a Pixar movie, quite interestingly. But when we think about our journey, we've been through a few phases. And so I want to show you some of these phases. When you're 150 years old, what's your oldest data set? Well, if you go into the AT&T archives, you can find some call books dating back over a century. Imagine working on these things literally with pencil and paper, right? And managing these calls when we used to route them, and you'd call in and you say, well, I want to be connected to, Mark Austin, VP of Data Science. And they'd go, hold, please. And they move the wires, and next thing you know, you're connected with Mark. Mark wasn't around back then. He's much younger than those systems. What about building out the plans for the network? Well, these were done on carbon paper, engineering drawings. I've worked with these plans personally. I was traveling around different call centers in South Georgia and North Florida, figuring out which things could be built up to be linked in, with fiber in the network in order to supply broadband over copper, but coming out with fiber all the way out to the remote terminals. And so I got to flip through these things and understand, well, what actually is being served, and is there a little, circle where a load coil should be, in this carbon paper, while meanwhile being very careful to preserve them before all this information ultimately got digitized into flat records and GIS and all of that. So it was quite fun to sort of see that and take it out and blow across it and open it up and take a look and really understand the physical layer of the network. But that is not the most exciting thing. One of the most exciting things I have to show you guys is, behold, the first data warehouse. Quite fun, quite fun. And if you get to go find one of these, you can still find these. They're not so much used by telecom and business industry anymore. But if you go into government offices, you go into libraries, you go into public records, you can still find their data warehouses, and some of them are still much the same. And we had a major leap forward in technology. And we had AS400. We had mainframes. We had line printers. We had things that could print out pair record reports for you to be able to find out which circuits were analog, which circuits were digital, and what customers might qualify for new service orders, or where did I have space within unoccupied strands within a copper sheath, or I should say an insulated sheath of copper wires, in order to be able to connect new customers. If I wanted to run a digital signal like DSL or a T1 line at a groundbreaking speed of 1.5 megabits per second, they could support 24 lines of service. It's really fantastic to think about, well, could I put these in the opposite sides of the sheath in the cable so that I could eliminate crosstalk? Kind of interesting stuff that you get to do as a company when you're trying to figure out how to business activate based on your data. But not to worry, the mainframes got even faster. And in fact, these mainframes are still running. Many of our enterprises, ours is no exclusion to this, and many of yours, and they've been running robustly for the last 50 years. And so it's really interesting to see that. But what happened next when we kind of fast forward through the mainframe? We had something else come our way. We had this thing called big data and these friendly pachyderms that came along with it. And we all thought, hey, this is the next big transformation. We started to put this stuff together. And so that brings us into that journey. How many feel like in your area of your business, you sit and ride on these pendulums? You go back and forth between technical decisions, strategy decisions, trade-off decisions, and you ride this pendulum. But we're no stranger to it. When we were mainframe, data was naturally separated from compute because who was the compute? You were. You, the human, your brain was the compute. The data was paper. And so you had to process that and think through how you were going to work with it. The mainframe moved compute to the data. So now you had these mass text processing engines, fixed width files, data set generation groups, copybooks, JCLs, all this stuff going on in order to process your data for your enterprise. And like I said, still robustly functions. Hadoop brought that data and compute back together and put it together at data center scale, but only single data center scale. The advent of service-oriented architecture was happening in parallel, said that, well, now we need data movement platforms. We got to ship data back and forth around the enterprise so that we can have the data that's still separate from the compute, but sort of nearby the compute, right? Close enough. And then something interesting happened. The pendulum sort of stopped at the bottom in between the two, and we entered elastic hybrid cloud with our collaborators and suppliers like Databricks to be able to say, well, now our data can be logically separate from compute, but because the architecture is so fast, it's as if it makes no difference. It feels like it's local. And so we learned a lot of lessons along the way, designing this kind of system, saying, well, we're going to build a system for the data center, or are we going to build a system for the developer, right? For a person that actually is going to extract value from that data and then deliver that value back to the business. And we learned some interesting things with that. Like, for example, what's the first thing you do with unstructured data? Well, in our world, we structure it. Even if we only structure it part way, we still structure some of it. We don't want to leave it unstructured. We don't want to data mine for success. Build all your data, bring it all in, it's all unstructured, data mine it, question mark, profit, right? Like, this was the promise in big data that we all have sort of moved on from. And so that leads us to where we are today. going forward with an interoperable data strategy. This is based around open formats and open catalogs and being able to bring that best compute to the problem while focusing on a single version of truth for the data. We want to aggressively deduplicate data in our environments and expose that back through a common fabric of data that you can think of as a zero copy, right? Eliminating a fragmentation in data to be able to drive business value. We want to think about merging inventory data, meaning what data do I have and where does it exist, with entitlements, meaning what am I allowed to do with it? You know, as a user principal or as a service principal, what am I allowed to ask of this data? What am I allowed to bring about from it? And what can I do? And then we want to optimize that for AI with data products. So you've probably seen how AT&T has been #1 in the world 3 times on the BirdBench SQL benchmark. That's no small feat. Now #1 in the single model benchmark, now #1 in the new Spider 2.0 Snow benchmark. Well, when we think about using data products with that data, that's a blind test. You don't know what data you're going to see. You're just figuring out how you're going to see it in real time and then being graded on how well you did. With data products internally, where we actually know the data, we build it with AI in mind, and we create the metadata associated with it so that we understand that data very well and the machine can understand that very well. We get to 100% accuracy in SQL generation. That's kind of cool, right? That's kind of like a step change in the productivity that unlocks to be able to do meaningful work with data. So what's next? Data is moving to the edge. We're going to have more and more computation that is now edge local in the form of the network. Data at the user, being able to talk to your data, being able to ask questions of your data, and not just business intelligence kind of questions, but strategy questions. What changes should I make about my marketing strategy in order to address more customers in this DMA? These are the kind of things that it unlocks with AI and data products and the interoperable data strategy. Then think about agentic AI forming as a native technical citizen. Can it participate in Scrum meetings? Can it participate as a helper for HR to ask questions so HR can get back to doing HR things? Can it participate as an extreme programming pair developer with you in a vibe coding pattern as you work with data? So I think we're going to see more and more of this. And then of course we got something big on the horizon, or maybe here now. We don't know. It's superposition. Quantum is coming. Yeah, that was a good one, right? Good old dad jokes. You know, if you need me, you know where you keep them, right? They're in a database. So being able to think about quantum is important because this is sort of our next foray. This is going to enable us to attack those problems which have been unapproachable before, traveling salesman kind of problems, massively parallel computation problems. Think about new formats, encryption, other kinds of insights that can be generated. Very interesting to see in quantum. So it's been my pleasure to welcome you in this talk today and open for this session. I do want to invite Jesse on stage to take the next path here. So thank you very much.
Some of what Matt shared hit a little close to home. I wish I was still one of the youngest leaders at Frontier, and those file cabinets look way too familiar. I think we still have some of them at the office. There we go. So thank you for having us here today. It's a great honor, and I just want to recognize the Frontier team. It's been a very big, challenging year for us. It's an honor to accept the Data Intelligence Award this year on behalf of Frontier. The team's worked really hard over the last year and a half on our transformation. I just wanted to talk a little bit about our purpose. We started our turnaround in 2021 with a clear purpose: Gigabit America. And to do that, it's very simple. Build fiber, sell fiber, underscore on improve the customer experience, and streamline our operations. And the important piece to that puzzle is how we're going to do it. We're going to do that by putting the customer at the center of our table at all times. And then we're going to work in a very scrappy, lean, innovative, high challenge, high trust environment to unlock what Frontier could do. And that's how we're going to create the future, building Gigabit America. And that kind of brought us to one big pillar. It's all about the data intelligence. Working with all of the business leaders across the company, we were all facing the same challenges. Our data warehouse had a small fragment of Frontier's data about our network, as Navash mentioned, about our complete customer picture, across all enterprise, wholesale, small business, consumer. This is a challenge to build Gigabit America. This is a big challenge for us, and we needed to bring the company together. And to do that, we on the technology side, we experimented with mesh architectures on all the different platforms out there, and they never really accomplished interoperability. And that's why we chose a lakehouse architecture with Databricks. It's not only a platform, it's a partnership, and it embraces that data is everywhere, and it's about bringing it together, collaborating with it, the ability to share and federate the data. And so when we built our lakehouse architecture, it was very focused on the business. It wasn't a technology-led initiative. It was a company-led initiative that was tied to our purpose and our strategy. When you build it, we took the time to lay out what all of the challenges were. We looked at what the company's priorities around, what problems are we trying to solve around proactive network detection of problems, growing revenue segments to achieve our sales goals. And to do that, it really started with executive sponsorship. At the beginning of last year, we acquired our lakehouse, and we started our journey then. And it started with business alignment. This wasn't, again, the technology group driving this. This was the business altogether. We agreed on the Databricks platform, and we locked hands and we started our work. And with that, I'd like to invite Srini to come up on stage and talk a little bit about the planning and execution that went into building the lakehouse and the architecture and some of the underlying components. With that, welcome Srini on up.
So the key factors for our success are laid out, as Jesse mentioned, is the executive sponsorship that has been aligned with the strategy of building the Gigabit America. So the business alignment is the key for all the success in any data strategy and the data transformation initiative. So where business needs to align with the timelines, not only with the timelines, with the interments of the legacy platform that has been used for the decades. It's almost more than a decade that has been with the legacy data warehouse. And finally, and also the planning and execution. So each step from the architecture, design, implementation, and execution played a major role. And what we have decided is, one of the key things is it's not that we don't want the best architecture, but we don't want to sit on we want the best architecture, then only we will start the implementation. It is a two-pronged approach that we need to settle down at a middle stage to set down the architecture, and it is a continuous improvement because the technology is changing and many things are coming and the data innovation and many things are changing on. So lay out a MVP that is needed for moving the data from the legacy to the latest architecture, and then start moving and improving the architecture as we move along with the lines. And the key factor that our success, that we have turned around the data transformation in less than a year, is by frequent demonstration of the progress and getting the early adopters from the business side onto the latest Databricks platform. That has changed the complete picture of getting the alignment. They also move along with us and seen that we are in a good stage, that we are about to become the legacy data warehouse in less than a year. And there are two other factors that has played a major role for our transformation success, is the partners what we have picked. The Databricks has been a great and awesome partner with the professional services they have been providing, and the architecture suggestions they are providing, reviewing the code and providing the things whenever we need. They are almost at just a call away or the email away. So I would like to thank you, Databricks, for that, and thank you for it. And finally, the other two partners that helped is the Infinite team, who played a major role in the SI as the systems integrator, which they have brought the best and the greatest, not only the resources but also the skill set from the market to make sure that is aligned with all the telcos that will lead to the next generation data platform. And also the Informatica, the data pipelines that are helped us to move and express the journey is the Informatica journey also. And finally, the last thing that I want to thank you for the team that has been working around the clock since almost a year, the best and the greatest team that what we have, is the major transformation success that what we have. Yep, Jesse. Hey. Which one?
All right, now the fun part. Thank you, Srini. Truly amazing work. Our prior data warehouse was about 80 terabytes a year ago. It's now 700 terabytes of the company's data on a modern lakehouse platform. We've moved about 5,000 pipelines into our lakehouse, and we're by the end of this month, we'll be wrapping up our BI migration. We've really brought the company together, and we're starting to see big wins. It started with building our customer data hub on Databricks. That really enabled all of the business units to start to unlock the AI capabilities. We focused on revenue. On the consumer side, we've been focusing on next best action, really targeting upsell in our customer base across all our sales channels. We've seen about an 80% increase in attach rate on value-added services and about a 60% increase in multi-gig upgrades in the last year since we've implemented this. On the B2B side, we've been focusing on aggregation of lead prioritization data, and we've seen about a 20% increase in sales and a big improvement on the account executive side onboarding. And on the wholesale front, we've been able to use the power of AI in the Databricks platform to ingest over 40,000 contracts and really SLAs and start to look at our customers in a brand new way. That's unlocking new revenue opportunities that Frontier didn't know about. On the customer operations side, we have over 500 terabytes of network analytic data that we're using to proactively alert when there's problems and communicate with our customers and resolve those problems. We couldn't have done this before. If our data wasn't together and it wasn't real time, we're now streaming over 20 terabytes of data off of our AS400 in real time onto our lakehouse. And just in the last month, we're talking about problems. We were able to look at all of our service order data for self-install orders, and we were able to identify problems all through the funnel of the process. And using AI and Databricks, we were able to take out about 6,000 non-productive dispatches out in the last 45 days. Databricks is exposing new wins, and it's really unlocked a new capability. But it really comes back to you have to bring all of your data together. You have to create an architecture that makes it interoperable, and then that's what's going to unlock our ability to build Gigabit America. And thank you for giving us the honor to share our story. And with that, I'd like to invite Nabash back up on stage. Thank you.
Thank you to the three youngest people in telco, right? Thank you, Matt. Thank you, Jesse. Thank you, Srini. Thank you for being our customers. The one thing we know is that you don't always get everything right. But when we have a go, we partner well together and we work through the journey together. We do get to the point every single time where there are great outcomes in your businesses. And thank you for making us always feel so welcome in Dallas. So huge thanks to you. So team, let's move on. Now, next I would love to welcome two amazing, bold leaders, Dayle and Arnab, to the stage. Please join me in welcoming them. So as I mentioned earlier, Dayle is from Telstra, the largest telecom in Australia and one of the largest probably in APJ, and Arnab from Accenture. And so Telstra and Accenture have recently formed a $700 million JV to embed AI across all of Telstra's operations. Help us unpack that a little bit. What were the strategic drivers behind this industry-first decision? And Dayle, maybe we'll start with you. What is Telstra's vision and what was the rationale for moving in this direction?
Yeah, so Telstra's long had ambitions and goals around AI. We have hundreds of AI models in operation today, We've had a strategy for the last 3 years that has included AI being used to enhance and improve 100% of our key business processes. And we looked ahead and really wanted to be, we wanted to be an AI-fueled company. We wanted to be AI first. Our ambitions now, our next 5-year strategy has just been released in the last week. And that includes, like, every part of our business is talking about AI and how AI is going to play a role there. We don't want to be an AI business. That's not our job. We are a telco. We care about connectivity. We care about network. We care about our customers and our employees. But we know to be successful in that, AI is going to play a really big role. And so we want to be AI leaders for that purpose. When we looked at our roadmaps, where we wanted to head with the ever fast-paced pace of change in AI, our roadmaps, are fine. We are good at adapting and changing as we go, as things around us change, but we just couldn't go fast enough. So, when we looked at our corporate settings and our roadmaps and how we were going to get there, it was going to take us over 5 years to get to where we wanted to be, and we wanted to be there now. And so we started looking at how might we do that? How do we get to that outcome where we go much faster? And it really required us to disrupt ourselves. So the way that we partnered, the way that we resourced, the way that we invested ourselves had to change to be able to get to this accelerated outcome and to meet this ambition for AI that we had. And so that was where the joint venture came from.
Amazing. Industry first. And I know many customers who are here also are saying, well, we want to go fast. How do we do it? So some really amazing insights. Arnab, can we perhaps get your perspective also? So this JV, how is this strategic to Accenture and also very unique? And how do you see this playing out with Telstra in coming months and moving on?
Yeah, no, I think it's fantastic, and I have to just say personally, as I've been living this journey for a year and a half, more than a year and a half with Dayle, and I was so excited with this journey that I decided to relocate from the US to Australia, and I'm based in Melbourne now. So just personally, it's really very important for me, and I'm very passionate about it. I think a couple of things come to fore as Dayle mentioned. We talk about scaling AI, at enterprise scale. And that's not easy. 10% of the organizations today probably are scaling at the enterprise level. I think what Telstra is doing is reinventing the whole company, front to back to front with AI. And this is being driven by the CEO, by the board, and by the entire management team. That doesn't happen always. And I think we believe as Accenture, when we saw this conversation, I said, this is where we need to lean in. And that was the genesis of the conversation around the joint venture. And I feel like this joint venture itself is first of its kind. At least from an Accenture perspective, I can say that it's first of its kind, where 1,200 people are coming together across Telstra, Accenture into one unit and are accelerating the whole transformation and reinvention at scale, bringing the global capabilities, the whole innovation, and the ecosystem. I mean, one of the reasons Dayle and I are here this week is obviously with partners like Databricks driving that transformation, driving that acceleration. And the last thing I would say on this is it requires trust and it requires shared values. It requires a shared mission around AI, which is where we felt that there was a strong match between Telstra and Accenture. So I think that's kind of what makes it very unique and strategic. I think where we are going from here is that, we're just at a place where we are finalizing the roadmap. 7 years is a long time. We are finalizing the roadmap for the next 12 to 15 months to make sure that we are out of the gate, driving the transformation, showing the wins, gaining the credibility and the trust with the entire stakeholder community. That's where we are right now.
Can I add one thing to that before we move on? The other part, Arnab just mentioned that it's 7 years. A key part of what we wanted to go after was that we didn't just want to do a deal that was for a transformation project where Accenture would come in and help us deliver a transformation and then walk away with us trying to get the value out of it. So the 7 years is about, let's do this transformation at the start. Let's continuously improve and keep going to make sure we stay at the front of that game. But then stick in the partnership, stick with it to deliver value over that period of time as well. So the 7 years was important for that.
Of course. And look, I must say, in talking to both of you over the last few weeks, that collaboration is so strong. as you said, it's trust, it's alignment of values, but it's also strength in leadership, right? And even when we were looking at some questions for this chat, I remember you were both very interoperable in the way you are approaching it, which again is admirable in terms of the huge targets that you have and how you want to move with this forward. So let's switch gears a little bit. Many of our customers shared today and often tell us that the use cases are things that drive the outcomes. And obviously speed is something that's, a key focus area for you also. So Dayle, are you able to share, what your use case canvas looks like and how you are approaching it today?
Yeah, so one of the things, and one of the speakers earlier mentioned this, like one of the things that I worry about with AI is that we were going to scale AI use case by use case by use case, and we would end up with fragmentation and complexity and duplication sitting across our AI landscape. And so a big part of what we're doing is trying to, build the foundations that make our AI ecosystem much more nimble, much faster to be able to react and leap on new opportunities, but reusable and resilient at the same time. So, on the one hand, I kind of want to step away a little bit from what our use cases are out there and really make sure we're focusing on getting the foundations right. But on the other hand, there's no point having foundations if you're not going to go after the value that comes from different use cases. So our use cases are really built around the things that are most important to us. So our customer experience, our network resilience, and then the work across our employees. So all of the work that our employees do. So we have use cases today that sit across all of those. We have hundreds of models in production today that sit across all of those. We are really looking at a couple of key areas, though. Really looking at the use of agentic AI in just reinventing all of our business processes with agentic AI. We have generative AI working in a lot of cases at the moment as well. We use it, in a really obvious kind of way in terms of knowledge management for all of our frontline staff. But the way we've built, we call that Ask Telstra. But the way we've built that has then been really quickly turned around to be Ask InfraCo in terms of our InfraCo designers. And when we built Ask InfraCo, it took 90% less time and 80% and 50% less cost to build it because we'd built it based off the first one, even though it's quite a different use case. And so all of those, and then for our employees, we have 20,000 Copilot licenses in place. We have, our goal is to get role-specific AI tools into the hands of every role at Telstra. And so that means there's lots of roles at Telstra, so lots of use cases for that as well. And then really making sure that all of that is tied to value. So how are we getting the outcome? How are we not just building AI for the sake of it, but actually getting a value outcome from it? And then realizing that all of this, as much as AI and agents and everything else is going to play a big role in the workforce of the future, we want every one of our employees to be really improve their AI fluency. So when we are putting tools in their hands, they are better able to use it, adopt it, and get the value out of it. So we have use cases across the board. I'm really focused on getting the data right, the foundations right, scaling responsible AI at the same time, but then being able to move really fast on the use cases as they come along.
And that makes so much sense, because if your foundation is right, you can build the models across the business. And what we're seeing is that the models actually connect with each other. It's easy to move from customer experience to churn to, upsell. They're all so correlated. Can I just ask you one related question? How are people responding to some of these changes and the JV?
So how are people responding to more and more AI?
You've mentioned employees a few times and embracing the strategy.
So we do it very much hand in hand with the education and empowering our employees along the way. So at the same time as we started doing more and more AI, we launched a Data and AI Academy and made that available to everyone. And part of the joint venture is, we built our Data and AI Academy with about 4 people, so it was very fancy. But now we have access to all of Accenture's learning and development for all of our staff as well. So as we introduce more and more AI, we also create more learning and development opportunities and empowering all of our employees at the same time. So putting those two out there hand in hand means that people have, while some people might be nervous and worried about how they're doing it, they know that we're giving them everything we can to, like, that opportunity is there for their team.
Amazing, thank you so much. Arnab, we may just throw to you for a moment. From a use case perspective, how is Accenture looking at agentic AI to enable these use cases?
Yeah, I think, agentic AI, I would say, as Dayle and I were discussing, that in the last 12 months, it has completely taken over, the conversation. And I think as we think about LLMs and the power of LLMs, I think agentic AI makes it tangible in terms of how to fully maximize the value and drive the action and the outcomes. I think when I think about in the context of Telstra, there are multiple areas across the business that we are seeing the size of the price is significant. But just to take a couple examples, one I think is in the whole contact center area, in terms of how do we get from a reactive to a proactive, contact center mindset where, with the help of agents, we are able to actually identify what's the best way to actually route the call to the right agent, and making sure that you're not bouncing around 5 times before you get to the right agent. How do you actually then resolve that call and get to the first call resolution, with a significant improvement, 60 to 70% improvement. And then how do you actually use that opportunity to create a proactive service mindset, and that personalized experience that improves the NPS by 25 to 30%. So that's a very concrete area to transform the entire contact center. The second domain, as an example, is the whole concept of autonomous network, and how you think about, you talked about detecting the anomalies in the network, and then from there, identifying what are the troubleshooting steps to be taken, and then going ahead and actually doing those, remediations with the help of the agent, and making sure that, it drives better network experience. And we have now at Telstra, as part of the 2030, we have we are rolling out a metric called the Network Experience Index, which has a direct correlation to customer experience, and also how do you actually optimize the OPEX, that goes around your managing your, network operation center. So again, significant improvements, opportunities both from experience, but also the cost and the cost of service that you offer. But this requires scalable platforms to be deployed. And that's what we are working together. Dayle and I are working together to make sure we've got the right data foundation. We've got the knowledge brain in place. We're getting the foundation model services in place, the orchestration layer for the agents, making sure we have got the safety guardrails and the responsible AI operationalized across all of those, so that you can be sustainable and scalable.
Thank you. And look, one last question. So Telstra has established a presence in Silicon Valley with the JV. And this, again, is an industry first that we have seen, an Australian telecom now in Silicon Valley. How is this global collaboration shaping your innovation strategy for AI? And Dayle, what are you looking to get out of this transformation? What does this hub mean for Telstra in Silicon Valley?
Yeah, I think a lot of from Australia, we're a long, long way away, and we have lots of people come and visit Silicon Valley in particular. You come and do executive briefing centers, you come to conferences like this, and you go away with all sorts of ideas, and then you get home and you remember how far away you are from everything again, and it's really hard to really activate the things that you've seen. And so having a presence here in Silicon Valley for me was really about being part of this ecosystem and the innovation that happens here. But then I didn't want it to just be an innovation hub or an R&D lab or somewhere where we send people to go and do a bit of training and exposure, but really to be part of our workforce. And so that the work that is happening here, and we experienced this yesterday. I was working there yesterday. There's an idea that people have, and they're working on something that's quite cutting edge. And it's not just for the purposes of innovation to showcase to other people, it is for us to deliver an outcome on in the very near term. And so it becomes immediately, so it means it jumps us from getting exposure to what's happening in innovation hubs around the world to actually, it's not just an idea, it's real and being applied to the work that we are doing right now. And then connecting that into our teams in India and Australia and everywhere else to be able to bring to make that happen. that's one part of it. The other part of it is that it's not just us and Accenture alone. That hub is, we want to work with our other, ecosystem partners, our other tech partners, Databricks and anyone else that we are partnering with, and bring in their advanced engineering teams into that work as well, so that we just, Telstra is quite comfortable being cutting edge. It's where that pressure to go fast comes from, because we just cannot go fast enough, not just because of our data ecosystem and foundations today, but because it just, like, that step from ideas and innovation to being real and applied and live and in use is too long. And so that's a big part of the hub for me, to be able to, that presence here is that it's part of our team and part of our workforce, inviting other partners in to be able to bring that innovation faster to our work as well.
That is extremely inspiring. Thank you for that. And Arnab, your thoughts. This is unique for Accenture also. How are you seeing this through, and what does this mean for other telecoms who are in this room, and how you might be supporting them too?
Yeah, no, I think this came directly from Vicky, the CEO of Telstra, and Julie Sweet, as they were discussing this, right? It was very clear that AI is moving so fast as a technology. It's such a transformative technology, and it's moving really, really fast. So this is the global game. So when Telstra is trying to reinvent itself, at space with AI and data, they consider it as a global game. And as part of that, we set up something called as the East-West Corridor. So starting from Australia to setting up our scalable scale teams in India, our innovations in Singapore, harvesting all our industry innovation around telcos in Europe, and coming up to Silicon Valley so that we can get the best of the big tech innovation that is happening through this East-West Corridor at pace is extremely critical. So to Dale's point, so that all of our teams across India, in Sydney, in Melbourne, they're all activated through this network, and we can bring the power of the innovation that is coming through the whole ecosystem, not just Accenture or Telstra, but embracing the entire ecosystem, the big tech, the small tech, the academia, the research houses, and that is extremely critical to be a leader in the space of AI.
Thank you so much. Look, we are so grateful, Databricks, to be part of this journey with you. I know Helen's here, and she's extremely grateful. To all of our other telecom customers who are here, we may not have time for Q&A at this session, which will wrap up in the next 10 minutes or so, but I know we have our speakers available after the session to take any questions you may have. But thank you so much for sharing this with us. And we can't wait to have you back, because you have now got us all excited about what you're doing, and we look forward to seeing how that goes in coming months. Thank you so much. Thanks, Dayle. Thanks, Arnab. So our last speaker that we have today is from TM Forum. Now, many of you are members of TM Forum. It's more than a standards body for telecoms around the world. And TM Forum has just set up a data and AI mission board. Now, Guy Lupo, who is the EVP of the Data and AI Mission Board, is here to share what the blueprint looks like. So you're going to get a preview into what's coming up that could be scaled across all of telecom. Welcome, Guy.
Thank you, Navash. Thank you very much. Forward is. Okay, thank you very much. It's quite exciting to be in front of this inspiring crowd and in this inspiring event. And I've walked the whole floor this morning, took about 75 pictures, and my head is spinning from all the innovation and the amazing things I've seen. It's quite remarkable. For those of you who don't know the forum, we are the Connectivity Industry Alliance, about 800 members around the globe, all the major CSPs and the major suppliers. We service and work with roughly, we say 110, sometimes it's a bit more, professionals around the world who collaborate together with the industry to create and create standards, but also solve problems. And we bring people together not just to solve problems and do PDFs, but we actually develop code together with our members. We are doing POCs and catalysts, and our members, which are wonderful. And by the way, all the members today in the panel, which you've seen, are also members. The speakers are sharing with the industry and making sure that we all can accelerate and adopt AI native. They love animation in the marketing department with us. So we've got 3 missions. One of them you'd know, it's called composable IT, which is basically been there for 30 years or so. And most of the telcos are using it. Is our data models, our ETOM, our seed, and it's been used and widely adopted. You've heard about autonomous network from Arnab just a minute ago. Telstra is a major activist in that and is also on the board for this one. And it's a big AI and data use case, which the forum is now promoting to make networks autonomous. But my mission, which is the last mission, which is the AI and data, is all about solving the problem and building the community around the integration of AI and data. And with this, I'm super excited to also extend a very warm welcome to Databricks, which have just joined our mission. And it's more than exciting. With the wealth of knowledge and the use cases that you've just seen, and making sure that all that experience and success is also going to flow into the industry. So we all together thrive and actually become AI natives. That's the way to go. That's what we want to see. And that will take us way further. I believe that together we will be much better dealing with those integration problems, which I will cover in a second. There is always a layer diagram that eventually comes out, but generally speaking, we've got a situation, and that's where the forum comes in. At the moment, the maturity of the use cases is actually starting to be real. This is happening. We can see, I just walked the floor. There are cases after cases of data analytics, agentic, enterprise-grade agents, data intelligence, things that are coming about. And on the other side, on the telco CSP systems, we have to start thinking about the real questions of how are we going to bring it in. And some of the experience that you've seen here today was going to flow in and get shared across the industry. But most important, there are 4 issues that we really need to take care of that the forum is going to walk in. And that's what Navash told you earlier about the AI native blueprint. And there are 4 questions that I'd leave you with today. It's not going to be a big presentation, but 4 really important questions. The first and topmost is data. We have to be able to service the right data to the agents. Getting on top of all the data, making a boil the ocean project is not going to work. So importantly, to work together and understand how to service data, how to curate it, and how to bring about the right data to the right agent, really important. We think we have a role to play there by collaborating with the industry and with the help of our partners, actually come up with something that you all can use. The second one is not less important. For those of you who like security, it's not about the actual agentic, but it's about how to trust them. How are we going to let those agents talk to our very network systems, BSS, OSS? Very important. So as a forum again, we want to come in and make sure that we work with the industry and our members to give you the right way and the way to experiment with it and co-create and co-develop it with us. So you'll have a unified way, a foundation to trust those agents. The third one, which is all about security and governance, but most of all, as being a security person for many years, there is no chain of evidence proper across all of this. And that's going to come back to bite us later on. So we must make sure we've got proper governance and how to govern those agents. And last but not least is the engineering AI ops problem. We're all facing multiple questions from our members. Where do I start? Do I start in the cloud? Do I experiment with it? When I'm finished with my experiment, what am I going to do? Am I going to go and move to trial? Am I move to on-prem? How much is staying there? Sovereignty. Tons of questions. We want to work with the members and work with you to actually come up with a simple set of principles and rules, and then also experiment with that and validate that, so we would have a foundational base to go and start integrating and accelerating an AI native communication service provider. So 4 questions. Get the data right and own it. Trust your agents, govern them, and engineer them correctly so you don't regret it afterwards. Sounds easy? Probably not, but I am sure with the help of our members And with the help of everybody, we actually get it right. We get it right for the industry, and we get it right for the world as well. And so that's it. I thought I'll just leave you with this very short couple of questions. Next week is our big event in Copenhagen, which some of you will be there as well, including Databricks, and more fun to happen there. Thank you very much, Navash.
Thank you, Guy. We are very excited to be part of that blueprint, work in the sandbox with you, and really take at scale the use cases to enable telco to thrive. So everybody, thank you so much for being part of the session. To our speakers, thank you so much for authentically sharing what you are doing. As you can see, this is no longer hype or hope. This is real. And we are here at Databricks to serve you. Our team is here today. Please join us in the industry lounge where we can showcase the demos to you. We are back tomorrow with in fact, 4 customers on a panel, and they're going to go even deeper and unpack a few more use cases. That's at midday, around midday tomorrow. So have a look at your agenda. And again, thank you so much. If you have any questions for the speakers, they will be here for another 10 minutes after the session. Thank you and have a great evening.